Xbox has been having a cracking 2025 so far, and Xbox Game Pass has been providing us with some insane experiences. From blockbuster AAA first-party releases to hidden indie gems, the library is bursting at the seams and now provides us with over $8,000 in its value. It's certainly a blessing to get this much value from your subscription, but it's also a curse when you're trying to narrow down what games to play. Well, you're in luck today, as I will be showing you the 20 best Xbox Game Pass games that you can play right now in 2025. My name is Fletcher, and this is Xbox Nation. Make sure to subscribe for more Xbox content every single day, and let's dive right into the games that you can play right now with your Xbox Game Pass subscription. First up, we have one of my favorite co-op games that arrived onto Xbox Game Pass this year, but I did feel it was somewhat lacking upon its launch. Orcs Must Die Death Trap offered that intense trap-based gameplay that this series is known for, but this time in a setting that does actually demand online or co-op partners. You can choose here from a ton of different war mages this time around, each of them with their unique abilities, personalities, and also own playstyles. Then you'll be thrust into utilizing an arsenal of different traps, gadgets, and spells to defend against an increasingly difficult wave of orcs. You can also add quite a bit to the customization and upgrade systems here, as you'll be preparing your defenses for some epic boss fights. I thought the upgrade system here was quite poorly implemented at launch, as you really had to grind for anything meaningful, but then again, there were quite a few options out the gate, so it was quite a pleasant experience. If you are looking for a fun tower defense games with your friends, then this one is a must play. Borderlands 3 returned to Xbox Game Pass last month, and I feel it was a quite welcome addition, especially with Borderlands 4 launching later this year. This Ultimate Edition though is part of Game Pass and actually packs a ton of extra guns and is a mayhem-fueled adventure, and it features the base game plus all the 4 campaign expansion add-ons, director's cut content, and all cosmetic packs. You will again be able to blast your way through worlds and enemies as one of 4 new Vault Hunters, each with their own deep skill trees, abilities, and customization options. Of course, you can play this one alone in solo mode, or you can join with friends and take on some insane enemies, score loads of loot, and save your home from the most ruthless cult leaders in the galaxy. The story for me personally was one of the worst in the entire series, but the gameplay really brings it to the forefront for being some of the best we've seen so far. Now, we finally got the chance to rip and tear this year as Doom the Dark Ages arrived onto Xbox Game Pass this May. Whilst it's not considered the best in the new trilogy of Doom games, it still surpassed over 4 million players since its launch worldwide, and was an excellent first-person action romp in the shoes of the Doomslayer. I've actually been really enjoying myself with this one, but I do miss the parkouring mechanics and the fast pace of Doom Eternal, but then again, not having to manage any ammo counts is quite incredible. The new abilities such as the shield alongside the mech and flying segments were pretty fun additions, and I really did enjoy the id Software including more this time around in terms of story. If you haven't played it yet, then you need to right now, especially on Xbox Game Pass, and you won't be disappointed by this bombastic FPS experience. Keeping in the same vein with Xbox first-party titles, you can't go wrong with diving into the dark and unique world of South of Midnight. I did actually review this title, and I have to say it's easily one of my favourite platformers on Xbox to this day. If you're unfamiliar though, you will take control of a weaver known as Hazel, as she has to locate her mother, and in doing so help repair and bottle up different stories and emotions from characters she meets along the way. The best aspect of this game though has to be the music, along with that very unique and beautifully looking stop motion aesthetic. The build up of the music when going towards a pivotal plot moment or an upcoming boss encounter really put goosebumps all over my body, and the team over at Compulsion did wonders with this newest entry. I do heavily recommend it anyway for the story alone, and if you're keen to hear my review, I've left a link to it in the description below. We had a very great addition in Blueprints to the Xbox Game Pass library for this year, and it's one of the highest rated games of 2025 so far. The premise of this game though is that the house you're exploring has 45 rooms, but rumours point to a hidden 46th, and it's your job to find it. The catch here though is that every door you choose gives you a selection of 3 potential new rooms, and once chosen, the math shifts in very different ways. This isn't just a walking sim, it's actually part strategy, part puzzle, and really looked to blend your mind in so many ways that you aren't expecting. This constant reshuffling as well meant that no 2 playthroughs are ever going to be the same, and you'll need to think a few steps ahead every single time. There is a reason why so many out there consider this a Game of the Year contender, and I can highly see why after diving into this one myself. If you enjoy mystery games with a very unique structure and evolving gameplay, Blueprints is one to dive right into. Obsidian have really been finding their stride onto Xbox this generation, from the excellent Pentiment to the huge co-op success known as Grounded, but every one of their games seems to hit that must-play status. Avowed is no different for me personally, and it was phenomenal playing this new action RPG when it hit Xbox Game Pass back in February. This one though took us to the fancy world of WOAH and is set within that Pillars of Eternity universe. You do have everything here that you want from an open world RPG, from some pretty rock solid combat, a great story and also characters, along with choices and dialogue options which do shape the overarching narrative and how NPCs view you. I know some may still be a little mixed on Avowed, as it does look similar to Skyrim, but is a totally different game in terms of its scope and how it plays. This was a great game from Obsidian, and you can dive into it right now with your Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and PC subscription. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a masterpiece, and really that's all that needs to be said. In all seriousness, I was so grateful to receive a review code for this game prior to its release, and I loved every single second within the continent, and I've never felt so attached to a group of character in a game for years at this point. As a brief rundown though, every single year the paintress approaches a towering monolith, inscribing a steadily descending number. It actually turns out that this number corresponds to a person's age, and for those who have reached that mark age on the island of Lumiere, a homage takes place and marks the end for those of that age. You will essentially have to join up with a group of expeditioners who are a volunteer force, and they'll venture out to stop the paintress to save humanity. The story of course goes so in depth and will easily come away with your mind blown in so many aspects. The voice cast, the visuals, the combat, the world, it's all just so fantastic, and I have no doubt that this will be a game of the year for 2025. Before diving into the remaining games today, make sure to subscribe down below for more Xbox content every single day, as over 74% of you have not joined the fastest growing Xbox community here on YouTube. We are aiming for 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and I would love for you to join this incredible journey with us. I will also be live streaming both the Summer's Games Fest and the Xbox Showcase this upcoming weekend, and it would be great to see all of you there. Thanks again for the continued support here on the channel, and let's dive back into the best Game Pass games of 2025 so far. This next game is easily one of my favourite indies of 2025 so far, and that's the wonderful Lonely Mountain Snow Riders. This game has such an incredibly addictive gameplay loop, so much so that I couldn't put it down until I got the 1000 gamer score, and then I even went back in recently to mop up some new achievements with a free update that they gave the game. If you are unfamiliar with this one though, you are sent down the twisting and winding slopes of different mountains, and your goal is not only to get down there in one piece, but also get there as quickly as possible. There is a single player mode which gives you challenges alongside leaderboards, but then also a great multiplayer mode which sees you competing against 8 other riders to see who can get to the bottom first. It's very addictive, it looks great, and I highly recommend this indie compared to quite a few others on this list. Sniper Elite Resistance may not have broken new ground in the Sniper Elite series, and I know many of you did complain about the game reusing some assets from Sniper Elite 5. However, the elements of co-op alongside the Resistance missions did breathe some great new life into this series that was sorely needed, and overall it is another great Sniper Elite game. This one though puts you in the boots of a sharpshooter embedded in the French Resistance during World War II, as German forces push to complete a secret project that can change the tide of the entire war. The game takes that franchise's hallmark sniper mechanics to brand new heights here, and that enhanced stealth mechanics also lets us blend seamlessly into the environment, using underbrush and distractions that outsmart enemy patrols. As mentioned, the Resistance mode adds a unique layer to the gameplay, ensuring every mission feels fresh, and it was incredibly welcome. This for me is one of the standouts in the Sniper Elite series, and is a welcome addition to Xbox Game Pass. There are hard games, and then there's Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. This was a shadow drop out of the Xbox Developer Direct towards the start of 2025, and I highly recommend you check it out right now. You of course play as Ryu, slicing and dicing through a world of demons, ninjas and supernatural threats with some of the most intense and technical third-person combat out on the market. Every move in this game really matters. From every block, dodge and counter attacks, it really is a life or death scenario, and if you mess up, well, the game will absolutely let you know. But if this one clicks, you feel absolutely unstoppable. This version though sharpens the visuals and adds quality of life tweaks while keeping that soul-crushing challenge really intact. If you want a pure test of skill wrapped in stylized old school action, then Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is an excellent game, and I can't wait for Ninja Gaiden 4 later this year. Monster Train 2 really was another great shadow drop onto Xbox Game Pass, and so far it's reviewed pretty well across the board, and if you like roguelike deck builders, then this one should be on your priority list. This game though really builds on that fast-paced strategic combat of the original Monster Train by adding brand new factions, deeper deck building mechanics, and even more replayability. In the first game, you fought to rekindle the fires of hell while battling against the forces of heaven, but now in Monster Train 2 is set to expand that world with some brand new enemies, environments, and gameplay twists. The game does still retain that 3-tier battle system, but then introduced us with more ways to modify and customize our very own decks, making every run unique. With its new card synergies, unlockable characters, and dynamic difficulty scaling, every playthrough here is incredibly fresh. I still recommend that you dive into the first game if you want to get a chance to, as it's on Xbox Game Pass, but this second entry is definitely another big hit. I was always intrigued by 33 Immortals when it was shown off late last year at the Xbox Game Showcase, but we finally saw the early access launch onto Xbox Game Pass for this year. This one sees you and 32 other souls diving into the depths of hell to essentially try and escape altogether. To put it in a very simplistic way, this is a sort of MMO raid style experience where you'll band up together to take down enemies and then face a massive boss fight at the end, but without all of the pointless and long grind of an MMO experience, and instead gives you non-stop action. The game did not launch with a ton of content, which is a shame to see, but the core mechanics in the gameplay loop are some of the most fun I've had for this year. You have different classes, abilities, and so much more, and there's so much depth that you can really master the intricacies if you so choose to do so. We are seeing more updates later on this year, but if you want to check out my review currently, you can do with the link in the description below. Atomfall garnered a very good reception at its launch and was a great alternative game brought to us from the same minds behind the Sniper Elite series. That's right, Rebellion brought us a very unique first-person RPG set in the nuclear wasteland of England, and simply put, it was a welcome change and is so unique with its structure and its storytelling. Diving a bit deeper on though in this aspect, there's no hand-holding or very little here. The story is actually dependent on finding notes, journals, audio recordings, and so much more, or just coming across something or someone in the environment. It really promotes exploration and planning and does it so incredibly well, which is a welcome change to this genre. There are also 6 endings to this game, which is pretty wild to see, and is so highly recommended to try out each of these as it does vary up the plot and what happens. If you want a different take on that sort of survival RPG genre with some solid gunplay and the beautiful English countryside, then Atomfall is one you need to try out. With GTA 6 being delayed until May of 2026, it was quite a blessing that GTA 5 came back to the Xbox Game Pass library. Of course, these games don't ever need an introduction anymore, as any person, even non-gamers at this point, know what this franchise consists of. Of course, the main draw for many out there is the incredibly popular GTA Online, which includes stuff like races, heists, role-playing, and so much more, and it's still one of the most popular games to this day, even though its entry arrived all the way back in 2013. With any GTA game, you do get a great story as well, and now is the best time to join Trevor, Franklin, and Michael, and for me, it's one of the best stories in the GTA franchise. I have nothing else really to say at this point, just if you haven't tried it before, you definitely need to play this one right now with your Xbox Game Pass subscription across both Xbox consoles or PC. Towerborn is a fantastic brawler, and I'm so glad we're seeing more of these games like this making a resurgence in 2025, as they're such great fun to jump into, especially with your friends. You might be able to tell with the gameplay on screen now, but this one really is a love letter to classics like Castle Crashers, and Stoic Studios have been working wonders during that early access period to bring us a ton of content for their Xbox release. The game essentially centers around a tower called the Belfry, where the remnants of humanity stay protected from the gruesome monsters that have invaded the land. Your job here is to go out solo or with up to 3 other players in online co-op, and then protect the Belfry and take down different monsters. It has been quite a lot of fun from what I've played so far, and the addition to Xbox Game Pass has been very welcome. I'm really looking forward to some future content updates, and it's great to see Stoic Studios supporting this into the near future. One game that I was so hyped to see arrive onto Xbox Game Pass was Dredge, and this is a huge indie that you need to play right away. This Lovecraftian fishing adventure game combines chilling horror elements with addictive exploration and resource management. By day, you'll be exploring this mysterious archipelago by upgrading your boat and hauling in some deep sea catches. By night though, the horrors lurking beneath the waves do awaken, really forcing you to navigate dangerous waters and unravel an ominous mystery. It's a mix of relaxing daytime gameplay and intense night terrors that makes it such a gripping, one-of-a-kind experience. If there is one indie game you need to try on Xbox Game Pass right now, it really is Dredge, and you'll come away wishing that there's a Dredge 2 coming up in the near future. One game that also came back to the Xbox Game Pass library is one that I dearly love. Vermintide 2 is easily one of the best multiplayer co-op games available to this day. It really does hit that Left 4 Dead nail on the head, especially with the hordes and the insane and visceral combat. This game really is built for co-op mayhem and it goes utterly insane. You and up to 3 friends will pick from a group of gritty, battle-hardened heroes and then dive headfirst into swords of Skaven and chaotic forces that never seem to let up. Each character here also feels very unique, and the way that you can grow them through their own careers and loot keeps things very fresh, even after dozens or hundreds of hours. Whether you're a veteran of the Warhammer universe like myself, or just totally new to it, you'll find yourself quickly addicted to this chaotic carnage that occurs on your screen. I cannot recommend it enough, and you have to dive into it when you get the chance. Metaphor Refantatio was one of 2024's best games, and it just missed out on the Game of the Year. However, surprisingly enough, it's now available on Xbox Game Pass and it's a must play. The storytelling here is very sharp, the pacing is tight, and the game just oozes style. Everything from the character designs to the environments just screams quality. But this game isn't just about its looks. Metaphor introduces a fantastic job system that's equal parts addictive and also rewarding, really letting you customize your party in many ways that feel impactful but also incredibly fun. I'd say that this game is not only for fans of Persona or SMT, but for anyone who loves a deep character-driven RPG. It's already being called one of the best RPGs that Atlas has put out in years, and that's for very good reason. I was still quite surprised to see this one come to Xbox Game Pass, as it only released as of October late last year, but with the amount of quality we're getting lately with our subscription, this is just phenomenal value. I wanted to highlight one of the most recent games of this year so far, and that has to be the mammoth release of Oblivion Remastered. This is easily one of the best remasters we've ever seen in the gaming sphere, and the fact this is still not classified as a remake is honestly baffling to me. We saw everything here, from a major graphical overhaul, changes to some mechanics to bring the game up to modern day standards, but then also keeping the quirks, bugs and everything else that we loved intact, and honestly it's been astonishing to see what Virtuous Studios have really achieved. I think I'm still about 25 hours in so far, and the amount of nostalgia that I feel in this game is utterly staggering, and reminds me of the joy I had back in the late 2000s when I originally tried Oblivion. The best thing though is that you can easily dive into this one having not played Oblivion before, and you will really enjoy your time with this in every aspect of the world. It's a fantastic addition not only to Xbox but Xbox Game Pass, and one that I highly recommend that you dive into. Every once in a while, a true gem of a game comes along that absolutely reinvigorates my love for the medium. Eternal Strands was another fairly new addition to the Xbox Game Pass library for 2025, and it really did garner a lot of great attention, and this was a fantastic first game from Yellow Brick Studios. This new outing though sees the combination of multiple different systems to create a very dynamic world. There's everything here from temperature, physics, climbing large monsters, crafting, recrafting, side quest upgrade, and all sorts of stuff just jammed into one title with a surprisingly cohesive result. Additionally, I did find that the writing was quite exceptional and noteworthy, including multiple nuanced and mature characters around a decently engaging plot. Subjects here are brought up with tact, and the characters interact like adults, with depth and actual background to their motives and their decisions. With such a great first entry, I'm really anticipating what Yellow Brick Games brings to the table with their next entry, but I highly recommend you try this one out right now on Xbox Game Pass. What is your favourite Xbox Game Pass game of this year so far? Let me know down below. Remember to like this video if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more Xbox content like this every single day. Whilst here, why don't you check out the video on screen now of the 11 brand new Xbox and Game Pass games coming out this week, and to see if any of them are worth your time and money.